Welcome, welcome everyone. Welcome. It's another Friday here, and we're here as usual. No holds bar, man. We're here as usual, doing our thing here on the naked truth. So, welcome, greetings to everyone out there, blessings to everyone. It's a privilege, it's an honor to be here today with you guys, learning and sharing the essence of life, man. Nothing more beautiful than that. We definitely give thanks to everyone out there who had supported, this whole entire mission. And as we haven't reached our completion as yet, because we're still in the embryonic state, and there's much to discuss, creating that cerebral, effect. Hoping people can, listen, learn something, apply whatever it is to their lives, make their lives better, and at least live your life knowing that you knew what was happening around you, know what was happening or taking place in your community, your society, and in fact, in the world. So it's our greatest honor to, share certain information with you. Not even information, but the truth, which is the most important thing. So it's our pleasure, it's our honor to share that with you. You know, we really here feel very elated to kind of have the privilege on this platform to to kind of voice the truth, voice what we know, and I hope that people would take a hold onto that truth, and don't have to live by our examples, right? But live by the truth. You don't have to follow our examples, right? But you can follow the truth, and that's what we're looking for you guys to do. So you don't have to look at us, emulate what we do, but not always a person that feed others with righteousness. Our truth is actually righteous. They may be very verse, right, in the law, very verse in conduct, in how to conduct, that our person should conduct themselves. So a wise person will be able to take bits and pieces of whatever is good and apply that to themselves. In essence, building yourself to become better. So why is a wise person do that? So we never reject knowledge. We always sit and listen and try to observe and try to pick sense out of nonsense. And that's basically what it is here. We're picking sense out of nonsense. So we have to go back to the origin. We're talking about, last week we spoke about Christianity and the corruption and what they have done. What they have done as a whole, and what part they have played in the destruction of the Most High people, God, the Creator's people, right? The saints, the very one that you've read about in the book, what Christianity has done to them, and what Christianity has done to other cultures, and what they are doing today, actually, in this modern era. So we already know what took place back in the, back in that time in the early centuries. We knew what took place during that time, and how they went out and they hunted the Hebrew Israelite, and they call it the crusade, and this war supposedly be something that Christians were defending themselves from. No, the Israelites were defending themselves from these newcomers who claim this identity of being Christian, saying that they are worshiping their Jesus, whomever that person is. And that's where we are today. So we talk about, we have expound on a lot of information regarding that. But of course, we have to get to the meat of the matter, right? When there's a lot to really kind of unfold. As I said, many people have doubts in their mind. Many people, grew up listening to certain things, and it become normal for them. Your ancestors might resist, right? I was rebellious towards certain teachings because they knew, they had first-hand knowledge of who they were, right? They knew who they were. They knew the consequences of disrupting, their well-being, by adopting something new or something that doesn't go align with their principles or morals or our lifestyle. So in first and they had all of that understanding. So they would have been more rebellious towards the enemy. As they have children among the enemies, the children would now become adaptive, right? And more adaptive to the idea, of the majority or the influence, right? So they will become more adaptive, and as they become adaptive to this new information, it's no longer difficult for them to, it's no longer difficult for them to reject the idea that was forced upon their ancestors, and they become inheritors of this idea. So it becomes normal that, they didn't get the first effect. Their foreparents got the first effect. Now they become, they come into the picture when everything seems like it's true. This lie becomes truth, right? And it seems very normal for them to follow because everybody know, not their ancestors, they didn't come to see their mother fighting, right? And as it gradually, what you would say, small changes or small adjustment has been made, and these adjustment is not for the benefit or for the good well-being of others. It's for, the desire of, fulfilling someone's narrative, right? Somebody had an agenda and they execute this idea, put this idea in place, and they hoped within a certain time that this idea would be, effective enough to have people believing in them and believe all that they say. So this lie that that's been told becomes truth after a certain generation pass or certain time pass. The generation that is new now is overlooking the idea that anything bad happened because they don't have first-hand experience. They never had a first-hand experience in, violence and how, they were hunted down or, beheaded and, being castrated. All of these things, they have never experienced it firsthand. They have heard about it. But hearing something doesn't give you the horrific, right, feeling of what it is. You'll think it's just another story. You think it's just something somebody's saying. But in actuality, this is actually what happens. Something happened very bad to a group of people. They were murdered, they were raped, but because you didn't have the experience, now you're very like, and all we know is this. It's easy to shut this down, right? It's easy to shut down when somebody's saying, yo, we've been through this. We have gone through these things. We have suffered long, but you didn't suffer. So you're not a strong believer in that. Like, okay, your mind is filled with doubts because you didn't have first-hand experience. If you did have it, believe me, you would be passionate about when someone say, well, we have been, you'd say, yes, I've been through it. I've seen it, but we have to take this, this, I don't want to say anger, but this passion, right? This feeling, right, of lost, right? This feeling of what our ancestors have been through. We have to take them and put them in our present mind, not dismiss them in the back of our mind like people are doing today. So they lose connection with who they were, right? And even historically, they've lost their complete history of who or what their ancestors used to do, how their ancestors were able to combat such, violence, to combat such racism and all other manner of humane treatment. Now, of course, it would be difficult. Why? Because a lie becomes normal. And when the lies become normal, you think there's no problem with it. And if the majority believe this lie, then guess what? They will persuade even the strongest mind to believe that this is true. But listen, everything has a beginning and it must has an end, right? Everything has a beginning and it definitely have an end to it. Right? So we understand that. We understand this. So this is why we're here on The Naked Truth. This is why we're here. Because we have to get certain truth out there for people to understand themselves, for people to know what's going on, and how we've been lost, how we've been indoctrinated, how we have been controlled today by the same people that our ancestors encountered, that raped, robbed, murdered our ancestors, innocent, people who were living, and because of their transgression, well, if we could go back to the Bible and connect everything, right? But you understand what I'm saying. So this is what took place, what transpired. Now we, as the descendants of our people, must understand that we cannot lose ourselves, become complacent, become lost in this puzzle. We need to recognize ourselves. We need to understand where we stand and how we go about breaking the curse, right, and liberating ourselves. And this is the main thing that we have to focus on, is learning the truth. The truth is very important. This is what's going to set us free, and everyone else that's been deceived by these liars will be able to set them free. Now, and the reason why I say that, because Christianity has done, right, such a good job of concealing the identity of the Hebrew Israelite by replacing them, or thinking that they're replacing them. So they have done a great job. They've put out, a great effort to conceal this. And the modern people today believe everything. Of course, you'll believe it. Why wouldn't you, right? If you grew up in a household where your people, your mother, your father, your cousin, auntie, whoever, and maybe say snail was the food of choice, that's what you're eating, snails, right? You will eat this, you will come, and you wouldn't reject it, you wouldn't feel bad to consume such a thing, right? Because you were fed this when you were younger. Because you were fed this, it becomes normal for you to like what it is, the texture, the taste of it. You wouldn't find fault with it. This is how a lie become truth, right? But how do we know snail would be the right food for us to eat, right? And this is just an example, I'm telling you. But this is what happens when we were taught a lie, especially when we were young and our mind were absorbing information. And the people that are in control, the people that govern the society, deem this to be true, this lie to be true. Now, our people who are captives would not be in the position to debate such an idea, to debate or have an input in this information that they would put out in the public space. So this would definitely be a deception for the people who have been held captive or been living in captivity. Your parents maybe not be around now. They might die, their ancestors, but you inherited their portion, right? And their portion is what? Being a slave, working, contributing to the society. That's basically what you're doing here today. So it's very obvious if you pay attention to see, what's taking place. Very, very obvious. So it's ridiculous sometimes how we kind of debunk certain things and how we support, other things. But as I said, if you grew up eating a certain thing, you're not going to find problem with it. If someone didn't, they will look at it disgusting, and they would say, "Oh, how could you eat this?" It would, it would cause you to like, feel like you want to throw up, feel like you're going to vomit. It just doesn't resonate with you, because you know that it's not something that you're used to eating, and you will always think it was disgusting. Maybe it's not good, shouldn't be eating. But someone else is eating very comfortable without feeling any way about it. You couldn't build the heart up just to even taste that. You get what I'm saying to you? This is what the lie does. That's, this lie that's been painted from the beginning, and, and it's been supported to this day. This lie would have been, what they used to indoctrinate us and to have us thinking a certain way. And because we, right, the generation firsthand who had the experience with this, and we knew what they were doing because we were there when the laws were changed. We were there during the struggle. We were there during the hunt. We were there to witness our brothers and sisters being killed, and we were there to absorb their sorrow, to absorb the pain of defeat, and the terror of not standing up and fighting back, and the terror of thinking you're next and you're in line to die. We were there, but all of it become dismissive. Now, why? It's because it's not been taught to keep it in the present mind, to remind us of where our ancestors coming from, what they went through, what happened to them. And the people that are responsible for it, did they get punished for it? No. But their children inherited their wealth, right? And their position in power passed down to their generation, and their generation are still in, right? They still have power over the very people that you were a slave. You didn't liberate yourself. You didn't get free. They told you that slavery, you're free now. You're not free, right? You still have to work under the rulership of the very people that did your ancestors and now died, and the new generation that inherited their kingdom is doing the same. So, my people, this is why we're here. To talk about the truth and to bring clarity, to bring light to the darkness. So we spoke about Christianity last week and its part in the whole deception and the whole corruption thing when it comes to the Most High and comes to the Israelite, his people. Christianity is one of the vehicle, that goes around, right? Mobilize itself and deceive people on top of people every year, looking for recruits, looking for people to become who they are. They're looking for that. Sounds very, very similar, right? Sounds, if you read the Bible, when the devil got kicked out of heaven, right? And the angels that he deceived to follow him, he convinced them that they need to follow him, and they went against God, right? He tried to challenge the Godhead. So just think about it. He deceived many of them that if they weren't lucky, if some of them weren't lucky, all of the angels in heaven would have been deceived by this individual. How powerful he is, right? How cunning this person is, that he were able to deceive these men, these righteous men who have never committed sin before. Were very persuasive, right? So he did that. He have done that. The Most High has never set out to recruit people or have the idea of recruiting anyone, right? As what Christianity tried to paint this image as if the Most High needs you to be good and he's doing everything to make you good. No. He chose a people that he knew that out of their own consciousness, they would recognize that he himself is the creator and that he had made all things, right? Out of nothing comes all things, and only from him, and he alone shall be honored for life and the existence of men. So the Most High knew that there were people who think like this, or out of a people, this idea will exist, right? This idea that is there will now exist within a physical space where people can be able to connect with each other, right? And, share this glory about the Creator himself who has put all things in existence. So, of course, it's very natural that we would have seen things a certain way, right? So the Most High knew who he would have chose to be those people, and he did so. And it has stated, there is no other book outside to contradict this one. So we talk about the Quran, right? And I have one outside, I forgot to bring it in. But, we talk about that and where the information came from. So the Quran, the information came from what? The Bible. It's this same scrolls. They took the information from the same scrolls, and everybody tried to, format it the way they want it to sound, depending on their belief system, basically, right? And that's what they did. So we have to be aware of what the truth is. Now, when we talk about inclusion, right? And you have a lot of people believe that they're inclusive, as we talked about last week, to the truth or to this book. and why people around the world believe that they're inclusive to this. And I want you to look at the major people and the largest population that you know on the planet today, right? We're talking about the African, we're talking about the Indian, and we're talking about the Chinese, right? Those are the largest and the ancient, population people that you'll find ancient relics and things among those people, and customs and traditions that survive to this day. You'll find some of those things in these areas, right? Within India, China, and Africa, of course, right? So you'll find these information, you'll find these evidence, right? Because they are there, And if you look around in the culture of what you said, Chinese culture, there are many different gods that they have. Just to show you, just so you get a glimpse to understand, that people in that time, during that time, all of them had their own gods. They believe in their different gods and different things. Now, China profess a lot of that trait today. In China, there are a lot of different people who believe a lot of different things. This God, that God, other gods, and God, baby gods, this God. They have their ideas of what they think God is. You know what I'm saying? In India, it's the same thing. The cow, because the cow has done tremendous work in plowing the land and do certain things, they will hold the cow as something high. So you know what I'm saying? So they have their own God. Before Christianity able, right, to compromise these different other nations, they also have their gods. I'm talking about up in Europe and other places. You know what I'm saying? They believe in their God, just like in Africa. There are a lot of people in Africa as well, in other countries in Africa, that believe their own thing, right? So everybody had their own belief, what they think their God is, how they believe in him. The Israelites, this is some different people. They are black, right? Living among other black melanated people, right? But they're different, not the same people, because they share the same thing. Because remember, every time something happened to the Israelite, what did they go? Where did they run to? They run into Egypt, right? Egypt, right? So we talk about Noah, 3 sons, right? Ham, Shem, and Japheth, right? Or Japhet. And those 3 sons, right, populate the earth. That's after the flood, according to the story, right? And we're talking about Ham, who's supposed to be the progenitor of the black race, according to their writings and the history that they gave, right? And so Ham would have had 4 sons. So for them to come now to say that the Egyptians are different from what they were, it's really ridiculous, right? They're the ones who say that Ham is the progenitor of the black race. So then how come we're looking at people today, European descendants, people from Europe who came in the early centuries and lived in the area, who immigrated there because of England and other European countries who immigrate these people, and they stay there. First generation, second generation, learn the language of the indigenous people that live there, now claiming position of power, took from those people, pushed them out, you understand, into other areas, and saying that they are the people, but yet there's relics, right? There's artifacts, right? There's writings on the walls. There's drawing on the wall that depict, and we're not talking about the one that they fabricated where in the early 70s, 60s, they went inside there and they were trying to change the coloring of certain hieroglyphs that represent the coloration of people, saying that they were white European people there, when that is completely false. And that's what they did. They caught them with pictures, sitting down, drawing, trying to change the narrative, because you can't say, how could you deny a race of people, right? That these people haven't done anything. How could you do that? You can't. If you say this, it means you have to go that far, right? You have to go that far. You have to go back into Africa. This is why they went in there, because hiding the truth from other people in Europe, saying that they're the ones who are the pioneers, right? They're the one who start everything. Okay, fine. You can do that. But if you're going to tell such a lie, then you have to go back, right? You'd have to go back. And when I say go back, you'd have to go into Africa, because how can you explain when you say these people have never contributed to anything? They are not human beings. They are monkeys and all kinds of sorts of different names that you use to classify them, right? How now say that in the area that these people live, there is a great monument that exists there, technology that marveled you and your people. How could you say that the people that you discredit now, they are responsible for building this? How are you going to put that in your history book when you already lied for hundreds of years telling people that the Africans and these people have done nothing? Right? It's ridiculous. Why? Hence, you have to cover it up. You have to bring people from the outside to change the demograph, right? Changing the demograph is allowing people who would have read the lies that you've written in your history books, saying that the Egyptians are this way, and depicting them a certain way, close to your complexion. So now you could point and say, well, see, the people that are living in Egypt been there for thousands of years, so they must be the Egyptian. This is a blatantly lie that they're telling to people, and everybody sit there without questioning what. But see, the African people, we know who the Egyptians are. Because if you're going to go back to the Bible, the very Bible that you try to change and pervert. So we talk about, right, Noah, 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, right? And those 3 sons, according to the Bible, populate the earth back, right? Because everybody died during the flood. You know the flood story, right? Now Ham, right, supposed to be the progenitor of the black race, right? And because of this, so Ham is going to have 4 sons, right? According to the book, Ham somehow, but this is what the Mormons believed, right? Their belief is that there was a war in heaven and everybody was white. This is their belief, right? Everybody was white, and there was a group of people who didn't want to participate in the war in heaven against the devil. So these people were kicked out and they became black. This is the nonsense. It sounds weird, but if you get the Mormons' Bible, this is their belief. This is what they've written in their books. Do you get what I'm saying to you? That everybody was white, and somehow, because they disobeyed, they turned black and they were kicked out of heaven because of they didn't participate in the war. And you could get a Mormon Bible and you read it for yourself, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So that's their story. So the Mormons, who are white, don't think of black people as anything, basically. Do you understand what I'm saying? But according to their books, because there's a different branch of these people who were excited finding the new world, came over here, and they were just learning. So learning was of a high interest. It was something new, like the gold rush. Remember, you heard about the gold rush. When you hear something, everybody just going out looking for gold. It was the thing. It was the trend of the time. So everybody wanted to go look for gold, hoping they would strike a lot and get rich. This was a trend. It was the trend at that time. Do you understand? So now it's the same thing. We're talking about Ham, Shem, Japheth. We're talking about the African. And so these different members, these different men would have been writing story about what took place to them. I'm talking about European men. They were into writing more. They were into building more. They were curious because they were learning for the first time. And they had the opportunity before. They knew nothing. Now they have the opportunity to absorb a lot of things. Every information they get, they would be documenting and doing things. They were able to change the narrative, change story, the ancient story to suit themselves during that time. Right? So you have different men who are not affiliated with each other, who wrote about different things that took place, right? Or different events and that happened during, that time or that period, right? So it's a lot to kind of take in, right? This is how these men have done it, change certain historical, thing. You'd look at it now and you'd believe right? If you weren't there, you were never born within that time, it would be difficult for you to understand, right? How would you understand something that you weren't there to witness, right? You didn't go through the horror, the terror of living during that time where men were hunted and, you were lynched and you were cast out and you were thrown off building or off cliffs to your, plunged to your death. You weren't around it. You weren't around at that time as they tried to make the story becomes more moderate, more accepting, right? And now they have edited certain things to make it seem like, oh, it's a very casual thing happened. Nothing really bad happened. The enemy is writing himself in your story so that you could learn to appreciate him instead of rebelling against him, right? This is the whole thing. They don't want you to rebel against them. They want you to accept them and love them. They even go as far as in the Bible to change certain things and say, love your enemies and do all of that. You've read it yourself. This is how far they have went. They don't want retribution. They're afraid of retribution. This is what they're afraid of. Because they don't know what you're going to do to them and they don't want to be ruled by you, which is going to happen anyway. Because it happened before, right? But it's going to happen anyways, regardless of how they feel, how they think. This is going to happen again. Within their books, they have written many things, right? And they have given credit in certain aspect, right? While discrediting other things just to create their own narrative, right? For you to believe what they say. Now we talk about Ham, Shem, Japheth, and we're talking about Ham according to their books, right? Definition, meaning, whatever you want to go back to. Ham is supposed to be the progenitor of the black race. Ham has 4 sons, right? Right? So Ham have Put, Cush, right? Mizrahim, and Canaan. 4 sons. We're not going to talk about the curse of one of Ham's sons, but this they put this in to say that black people change because of Canaan. Right? So Canaan would have changed, but then if Canaan was the one that was cursed, because somehow Ham, according to the book, saw his father nakedness and something happened, and this is what the Mormons use to claim that, well, he saw his father nakedness, because of that everybody was white, so Ham now he didn't get the curse, so he remained white, but his son, he had 4 sons and only one of them inherited the curse, and this curse turned him into black. So he said, be slave of slave, whatever. You read it in the Bible. You'll become slave of your brothers and whatever. Nonsense. Bunch of nonsense, right? Now he's the progenitor of the black race, but yet we see the Ethiopians, right? How do they look? Don't they look the same complexion as the other black group of people? We're talking about Put, right? So we talk about Cush, which are Ethiopians. So it's Cush, right? It's Put. We say you have Lower Egypt and you have Upper Egypt, right? And you have Mizrahim. Mizrahim, one of them was lower, one of them was, you're upper and lower. So this area, they control this area where they lived. And that was their inheritance. And then the other part would be Canaan's, right? So Canaan would have inherited the other outside area where everybody were split up. They were giving their own inheritance. So now the Ethiopians stay where they are. The Ethiopians are supposed to be Ethiopian. And first, the name is not Ethiopian because that's a Greek name, right? So that's coming from the Greek text, Ethiopia, right? We're talking about Cush. That's the original name of the people that live in this area where they call Ethiopia today. So we're talking about Cush, Put, Mizrahim, Canaan. All of them are black, right? There's no different distinction between them, right? So when something happened, and then we talk about Japhet, right? Right? So it was 3 sons, right? So we talk about Ham. We understand. We talk about Japhet, or Japhet, whatever you want to call him. Now, according to, and this is not historical, right? According to these people, they claim that Japhet is now the progenitor of the Europeans and Chinese, right? And the Chinese group of people, right? So these people came out of Japhet, right? The Chinese, the The Russian, the Germans, the rest of European people came out of Japhet. That's what they claim, right? None of this is historical, but that's what they claim. Because they want to put themselves into the story, because they weren't a part of what took place in the ancient world. They were never there, right? They came out in the 1400s, right? This is when they come to rise in the 1400s, right? Now, there are people who went into Europe to civilize them. So we talk about the Moors and everything that happened, the black Arabs that went into, and those are the Ishmaelites, the same Ishmaelites who went into and they became kings and nobles as the promise was given to them, and they lived in the desert. Now, say white people can't live in a desert, basically, right? These people live in the desert. They were nomads. They moved from different places, and they could have dealt with the sun. So they were black. They were extremely black people who lived in that area. You understand me? So this is how it happens. So all these four group of people, so whenever the Israelites had a problem, they would go into Egypt. When the Messiah was born, right, and Herod, the king at that time, seek to kill him, what did they do? They run into Egypt. Right? They went to Egypt to hide. Now, black people can't hide amongst white people. That would be very foolish. Right? This is why the book tells us that, you understand me, they blend in with the sons of Ham. The Israelites blended with the sons of Ham. Who are the sons of Ham? Ham is the progenitor of the race that they call black today, that the people say they're black. You understand me? According to their writings, according to their definition, according to everything that they believe historically, Ham, how now change the whole entire idea and try to turn it around, saying that the Egyptians are actually the people that are living there. If you are not, and let me be very clear to you people out there, so you can have a deep understanding of what's happening, right? We're talking about an ethnicity, right? We're talking about ethnically, if you're not connected to a people that are indigenous to a certain area, you cannot claim that you are of that area, right? You cannot claim that you are of that people. You can't just say you are someone based on you were born in an area, a geographical area. You are, oh, well, I am this because I was born. You cannot be a part of the people. You could born wherever you want, but still you belong to who? Wherever you came from, that's who you belong to. Whether you were born in another place doesn't give you the entitlement to say that you are of that people. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Well, it's just like the Hebrew Israelite. You cannot be an Israelite, so you have what they call the Israelites. You have the Gentiles are non-Israelites, right? So you have the Gentiles and you have the Israelites, right? You cannot claim to be an Israelite outside are saying that you are adopted in. And this is what they're saying. Adopting someone is taking them in, right? So we can take you in because we know that, okay, you're willing to abide by the rules. We could take you in. You see someone, you sheltered them from the rain. You see, they're walking in the rain. They are nowhere to see. You could take them in, adopt them in, and let them stay at your home. They're not a part of your family because they're staying in your house. Right? They're not a part of your family. They could never be a part of your family connected by blood because they're staying at your house. Even they stay in your house and they were able to marry and live there and have kids and produce kids within that house, they cannot be a part of who you are. They're not a part of your family, right? Cannot. It's impossible. Do you understand me? Greetings, everyone. Welcome, greetings to everyone. So they cannot be a part of your family because you adopted them inside of your home. Even adopting a child, right? For example, you're not, right? You're not the biological parent of that child. Whether you adopt it or not doesn't make you the father, right? Because we're talking about genetics, the coding of genetics, this one thing that connects people. It's impossible. You can adopt someone. What does that mean? You can treat them well because you're loving concerned citizen for the well-being of others. You do what is good in you. You do what you think is right to do in the circumstance, and you have done it. Still, you're not and can never be the parents or the biological parents of the person that you adopt. They will say this, that the adaptation and everything, and oh, they're gonna be grafted in. This is how far as where Christianity will go, that they will be grafted. Now I've break the idea down about grafting and what grafting is, and how it's impossible to graft someone into your family, that because they could never be a part of your family. So grafting them in doesn't change the fact that they're not blood. They're not blood relatives, so you cannot be grafted in. You could. No, and I know you guys probably know what grafting is, right? And there's a simple example of what it is, right? If you learn agriculture, you could take a plant, you could take a apple tree or a pear tree at a young stage, and you could cut it, and you could put another tree on it, and you band it and put some earth around it, and then this new branch, say it's a pear tree, but it's a branch of an apple tree, you put onto it, and then at it young, it will connect and grow as one tree, right? But guess what? Guess the whole idea of this thing. The part that the limb that is attached to this tree, that is an apple tree, right? Because the fact that it's growing on the tree and you believe it's one in the tree, it's not one at all. Guess what? Because the information that is written within this plant, right? The existence of this plant, right? The information that the Creator himself written in it, it can only abide by that, right? So the apple, even it's connected to the pear tree, guess what? It's going to produce apple. It's not going to produce pear. So you'll find a tree that's growing apple and pear at the same time, right? Because one is connected to the other, but each of them have their own identity, right? It was written and programmed by the Creator. So you cannot graft something in that bears something else different from you. You understand me? So we're talking about conflict with ideas, conflict in interest. This wouldn't work. This is confusion. So there is no such thing as anyone grafted into Israel and becoming Israel. You cannot become something, because these people that the Most High chose, right, are genetically connected. They're connected by their relatives, their family members, auntie, uncle, cousin, niece, nephew, whoever you want to classify them as. That's who they are. You can't just go in and say, oh, I'm a family. The Bible even tells you this. If you sojourn among the Israelites, it means if you live among them, if you see that this is a good lifestyle, right, and you want to emulate that lifestyle, you could live among them. Fine. But the Most High said, if you live there, you understand that the law, once you live now, you fall under the promise, right? And this law, right? If you break the law, transgress it, you will be punished as well, because you went and you commit yourself to this, right? You'll be cast away with the Israelite, right? But there are limitations, right? If you sojourn among the Israelites, there are limitations. What are those limitations? The limitations are living among them, right? These limitations, you cannot go to certain places, right? The tabernacle, they cannot enter those places. The holy places, the stranger that's living among you, following the laws and the rules, can't enter to these places. For example, if you invite someone in your home, right? They're not family. Do they have the right to go into your bedroom and certain areas in your house? No. You restrict them to a certain place. Okay, this is the room, this is the bathroom. They won't dare go inside your bedroom to go hang out or sit down unless you invite them in there, right? Now, your kids who are familiar and other members of the family who are well known within the family that their family could do anything in the house, right? The stranger can't. They're restricted. This is the same concept. The Most High said you could live among them, but the holy places you cannot enter. You can't go in there because you are not family. So grafting something doesn't mean that when they use this term, and I'm saying it because it's a term. When they use this term grafting, as if you're going to just miraculously become a part of someone that you wasn't a part of. Ridiculous. But this is the springboard that they're using, trying to replace the Hebrew Israelites, saying that, oh, we'll graft it in, that mean you become one. Grafting something doesn't mean you become one, right? With the person. If you was not a part of that branch before, how could you be one with it? The people that will be grafted back in, and when the term is used, is the people that were already a part of the pear tree. They were already part of what the pear tree is. So when they go back, there is nothing different about, right, how the tree produce fruits. It would be the same thing. Even the limb that came back and connect, what that limb is going to do, produce pear, because the tree was a pear tree, and the connection and the branches that disappeared and run away and came back produce pear. When they come back, they're going to do the very same thing. Not coming back, and one part is producing apple and mangoes, and the other part is producing. This is confusion, right? This is completely confusion. So you have to understand this when you read this. You can be grafted back to what you were a part of. You can go back to it, right? And assimilate within that, because that's what you were before. You were pear tree before. You were part of the pear tree. So definitely you're going to do what? You go back to the pear tree, and what you're going to do? You're not going to produce something different from what the pear. What type of conflict is that? Right? You're going to produce the very thing that is written, right, within your DNA. So you will be producing pear, because that's what you were. So all the last sheep, right, of the house of Israel that's been scattered, they will be grafted back in. Not the other way around, where someone else outside that is not family, they're not blood, would be grafted back into something that they were never a part of. You don't know the history. You don't know the rules. You don't know the laws. How could you claim such a thing? So we know what Christianity does in this case, replacement theology. This is the problem, because if you understood, when I break it down last week, what happens to the Hebrew Israelite and who were their enemies? The very last destruction of the temple, who destroyed the temple? Was Rome. Rome destroyed the temple, right? It was Rome who destroyed the temple. It was Rome who pushed Christianity from that time to this very moment. You could talk about 7 Days Adventists. We could talk about the Catholic Church, and people try to come with different ideas. Oh, we're not a part, because everybody's stubborn within their own ways, right? They want to do what they want, what they think is best for them, right? Not what's true and what's right, what is best for an individual. And this individual don't like the idea of this, so they start their own thing, right? So now they're Pentecostal, they're 7-day Adventists, they're all kind of different denomination, churches everywhere, based under the same umbrella. All of them goes back to Rome. There is no church outside there. As Christians themselves know this and will deny the idea. Oh, no. Rome or the Catholic Church, they have nothing, because there's a representation directly, right, from Rome. But all the other churches have to go under what? The umbrella of what? Rome. You understand? Rome were the ones who pushed Christianity. You can't teach outside of that. So a lot of people who claim, oh, well, I'm not this, I'm 7 days, as if any of them is better than the other, right? The same thing. So we talk about Shem, and Japheth, and we talk about the Shem, who's supposed to be the Hebrew Israelite. That brother would produce, out of him will become the Israelites, which is, this is why the people today, who claim that they are the people of the Bible, they are the Jewish people that you know today, talk about anti-Semites, right? Or anti-Shemites, right? We're talking about Shem because they descend from this. So you'll be anti-Shem if you don't like them or fight. So this is where the term come from. So we talk about Shem, Noah 3 sons, and so now if you're gonna decipher the whole the whole understanding of what happens, then you have to really you have to explain how did one of the child became black. So out of these white men, now we haven't seen any persons of European descent or any person of a non-melanated person produce a black child. Impossible. Totally, completely, utterly impossible. Has never happened. Now you have to ask yourself, if you're trying to identify who Noah is and Noah's wife is, who were they, right? If they have a black child, were they black? Right? And I'm using black as a term because people, understand it in this modern time, right? Now, if right, and I'm saying this, who was Noah and Noah's wife, right? And then we're talking about three brothers, right? This one person, right, had three kids, right? Who were they? Were they Europeans? Were they who else? What type of people they were? Right? Because if they produce a black child, that means if two white person, and I must say this, produce a black child, and that child is a miracle. When I said miracle, it means it's a gift from the Creator, because you can only give what is written within your DNA, right? So this pre-programmed information that exists within the seed, that very seed, that semen, right? That information that is pre-programmed there from the Creator, right? Already tell you what the person is going to be, how long they would live, what will happen to them. All the information is written within that very seed, right? So we have to understand, right? Who were the people? Who were Noah and his wife? And then if you say that, okay, well, fine. Some curse happened and the other kids became black, right? Because this is a problem that you have scholars and other, you have Christians and other groups are trying to discuss too, because, Europeans, right? They are in power now. And because they're in power, they control the narrative, they control the story, they control everything. So they could shape it and change it however they want. But there's a problem, right? When we come to identify who the real people are. This is where the problem is. Now, the common people will always be tricked, because they don't know what's going on. But we're talking about the rich and the elite and these men who understood or shared the information among themselves. They know who the people are. But the common people will always be fooled, and the common people will always be debating with each other, and nothing comes out of it, right? Nothing will come out of it. So we have to go back to the origin to find out who these people are. Now we know if Ham was cursed, and they claim that, well, according to the Mormons, that because of that curse, that these people became black. So now you have black people because there was a curse. This is the ignorant idea, right, that they're trying to, share with the world, right? Now, you have to understand this, right? Now, we know the sun is one of the hottest elements in this ecosystem, right? And the sun gives light. Not only that, it gives energy as well, right? To everything that exists within this ecosystem, that the sun is the hottest element that gives energy, light, and all different type of things, right? To sustain within this physical space. Now, they're saying that Ham, which was Canaan, one of Ham's son, which was Canaan, he was black. So I'm assuming that the other three sons, right? They were white as well. So now you'd have to explain to me how the Ethiopian, which is the Cushite. Now you understand why the names are changed. The names change is to throw you off if you're a common person who believe in the conform history that they have written about what took place or what happened. You'd be lost. You wouldn't ask a question about, so what is this? What is it? Though when you hear Ethiopia, right, you wouldn't think about Cush, because Cush is the original name. So when you hear about Ethiopia, you're thinking, okay, there are black people in Ethiopia, different people, right? Now, where is Cush, right? I mean, not Cush. Where is Mizrahim? Now, Mizrahim is what they call Egypt today, right? Now, Egypt is a Greek name, just like Ethiopia is a Greek name. Egypt, that's not the original name either, right? But the original name is Mizrahim, right? Or Kemet. So the name would resonate with the people and the language around them. So when you go in that area, you'd hear the language that the people speak. You'll know, well, okay, now we know where the name is coming from. So in modern times, they change the name and give it Greek name. So now you studying history and the conform history that you've learned wouldn't point to that direction to let you see, well, oh, look at this. But the Egyptians are black. This is why there's a lot of conflict happening between who is the Egyptians and who is this and who is this, and the people who live in Egypt today, are they the Egyptians, and all of these nonsense, which they know who the Egyptians are. But changing the name send you back right into the reference. In their lies that they set up as reference, you're going to find that, oh, the Egyptians are actually the people that are living there today. But they didn't tell you that the name of the place was ancient Kemet, or Mizrahim, the son of Canaan. Right? That's the name of the place. And Put, right, which is the other, which is lower. You have lower and upper. So two brothers split the area. One take there and the other one take here. And up top, the mountainous area where Cush went, and say, okay, this is my inheritance. So we have the Ethiopians still remain there. Right? And we have the people that are living in Egypt who were pushed out and replaced by new European people who live there today, claiming that they're Egyptians, right? You could say, well, they're Egyptians, pertaining to the modern term. But if we're talking about the real Kemites, right, they're not those people, right? So you'd have to explain to them, so why Ethiopian or Cushites are not white, since their father was white? Oh, they're not. And we can go on with Put and Mizrahim as well. Why aren't they white? But to show you this bold narrative in front of your face is to replace the people that live there, the indigenous people. Now, a lot of you probably have not traveled to Egypt and know that there are black people there. The original indigenous that the media and mainstream media never talk about them as if they don't exist. You would never think that there's a black person live in Egypt, because this is the narrative. They try to control this narrative for you to believe and think a certain way. There was back in what? It was back in the 90s. It was in the early 90s. There was a guy, and I'm sure you guys search it, you'll find it. He came from Egypt, right? And he told them that he was black. They said no. He can't say that. This guy did an interview, right? This black guy from Egypt. He's an Egyptian. They said no. Because when you hear about Egyptian, you're not supposed to be black, because to trick the population of people outside in the Western world is to let them to believe that the Egyptians are European looking. This guy, they said no, you have to say that he's white. This black guy, you understand what I'm saying? And I'm going to find this interview because I don't want you guys to think this is a joke. This is a serious thing. This black guy came and they had to ask him question, and he told them, no, he's Egyptian. He said, no, if he's Egyptian, he said he have to accept the idea that he's white. So on his paper, right? On his papers, you have to put white on it. Do you understand what I'm saying? But in context, he doesn't look white, but they're saying that he is. This is how far they will go, right, to conceal the truth from you. So we know that in the ancient world, that the Hebrew Israelites always go into Egypt because they could blend in to hide. If you're going to hide from prosecution, being a white person, how are you going to come in the black neighborhood? It would be impossible. You have to go among people that they can't recognize you. They wouldn't know who you are, right? And this is what they did. So they went into Egypt. So to uncover the truth, we spoke about a lot of this, right? So, back to the church. And as the church, they knew what the truth is to this very day. And then we talk about those who are watered down, who think they know what's going on and don't. And, they're just going by the information that is presented, or what they grew up, learning, what they've been inherited from their ancestors or their parents. So they push this narrative and they stand behind it firmly. You ask them questions, some of them cannot answer you. Why? Because they don't know what they believe in, right? They just knew that their parents did it, and they're doing it, and it's okay. You understand? Now, when we talk about inclusion and who is included and who is not in this book, it becomes very problematic for a lot of people who believe the idea that God loves every single person on the planet. That's what they're saying, right? Oh, God loves everyone. And, Christian will quickly run to John 3:16, and they would, take the scripture and say, oh, well, see, he loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. This is the scripture, right? And who haven't read this and believe this, going to church or being around your elders, whoever you were as a child, and you've been absorbing this information, of course, you're going to believe that as well, right? There is no concrete evidence, right, of the people or these people who, I don't want to say concrete evidence, but there's no proof, right? The Israelites, according to the book that you have read it many times, and their captivity and what happened and these miraculous things that took place with them. People in modern times have never seen that, right? And I'm talking about from the early centuries to now, they have never seen that. Why? Would have been the question, why haven't we seen anything happen? We've seen Sister Mary prayed, and they prayed for Miss Rebecca, and they prayed, and they go sermon, they do everything. The pastor come, they holy water kind of thing, and still she succumbed to her injuries, she succumbed to her cancer, she succumbed to whatever illness she had, died the same way. They have no power in the churches to pray, redeem, or restore anyone, right? And of course, here on the Naked Truth, as we're being very blunt, you understand me? And we're not sugarcoating anything. Of course, outside people, the first thing, they would get angry hearing something like this, right? But it is the truth, right? There is no church, none, that you could bring someone that is an handicap, what you call handicap today, or someone that is blind, and restore their sight. There is no prophet, according to the pastors and the bishops and the theologians who came out and they talk all kind of blaspheme thing. Oh, they spoke with God last night and God said this. None of them. Not one single pastor, preacher, priestess, whoever they want to call themselves today cannot, or neither can they wield the power to heal anyone. I haven't seen it. And I'm certain you guys have not seen it either. You haven't seen it. And the question would be, why? Why are these people who claim that they're so godly, they're so devoted? And the Bible speaks about these people who are able to do that. These people who are able to cast out demons and do all kinds of different things. And you have read about it in the Bible, right? The blind see, restore their sight, the crippled, the sick. These men, even the very leprous, were restored. The men that turned white turned black again. What happened? Why these things, even today, the leprosy that exists today that they try to diminish, say it doesn't. Same leprosy that they call vitiligo. We spoke about this last week. Doctors, physicians in this modern time cannot restore any of them. The only person that have the ability to restore a person who have leprosy, guess is who? The prophets. A person of God, right? Person that has a relationship, a communication with the Most High. They're able to do this. They're able to restore. You know about Naaman. You read about Naaman in the Bible, and not only Naaman, other people who had leprosy, and they were restored. But yet today, the very leprosy that they changed the name and called vitiligo, they cannot even the process. They claim that they're issuing medicine, right, to slow the process down, but even that they cannot do. Michael Jackson become completely white, and then him do extensive plastic surgery to shape him nose again. On top of that, mess him whole self up. And then there's people that I know who have the leprosy today, and that you have seen them. Slowly the process and their dark skin begin to shift away and drift and leave white spots. And it doesn't stop. It continues until it complete the whole entire body, as we read in Genesis. And the Bible tells us about that, right? That when the hair in the skin becomes white, right? It is a curse of leprosy, right? This is happening to you and you should go to the priest. The priests have the ability and the prophets to restore you back, give you back that trait. It's a trait that not no scientist or our physician today can restore. Only a person of the Most High can do this. Right? Only a godly person can restore, because it's a trait. It's something that is written within your DNA. Nobody else outside cannot give it. You understand what I'm saying to you? So this is what we're talking about. Communication with the Most High. Would be understandable that the Most High would have worked through his prophets and the priests and those who do his biddings. And they will be able to wield this power to restore and to do great things in the earth, miraculous things that you have not seen in your lifetime here. And the reason why you haven't seen it is because the huge question is there. Why the Bible tells us about so many miraculous things? We have never seen it. Now we have heard about the Most High went into Egypt and he delivered his people and brought them out. That was the first captivity. They was in Egypt. They wasn't taken there, right? They were in there. And because of the change in power, one of the Pharaoh died and there was another one that rise. And then now, because of this new Pharaoh come with different ideas. So now they start to oppress the Hebrew Israelites. So it becomes slavery. They become slave in Egypt, living there freely until, they begin to increase their labor and set taskmaster over them, and beat them and all kinds of different things. So the Most High said, let my people go, right? And this is where it started out. And we understood that the Most High killed all the firstborn, kill how many different people in Israel, turn the water, turn everything, and all of these things happen, and march them out. Finally, Pharaoh agreed, okay, and then he marched them out. Then when they reached almost across the Red Sea, according to them, right? Guess what? He followed behind them. He pursued them, and then he got killed when the ocean closed up, and his horse and chariots, everything were closed up in there. So the Most High delivered them, in style and fashion. Right? They were delivered out of Egypt. They saw his power for the first time. And he had a cloud in the skies, if you have read the book, that guided them through the night while they were walking through the wilderness. Now, there was not 10 of them or 1,000 of them. There were thousands of them. And in the night, he said that the cloud to light, prepare path for them. He has done this that he has never done for any other nation. Now, we would have to ask a question based on what we have read in the scriptures about what transpired and the miraculous things that happened there that we haven't seen today, right? So we would have asked a question, so why aren't those things happening? Why are we not seeing people healing people, and we haven't, those who are possessed leprosy cannot be healed today? What's happening? This would be the question that a person that is thinking would ask, right? You haven't seen it. Don't be comforted with lies. You have not seen it. I'm not talking about the pretenders in the church, and the scripted foolishness that they be doing and telling people to faint and all of these nonsense. Listen, and having people coming there with wheelchair, people who can already walk, come inside there and just to profess that they're creating miracle. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about literal miracle, not deception, right? Miracle that you have seen with your eyes within the church. And I'm talking about elusive mindset, and you're having an illusion about something, or you're overthinking, overprocessing something, and because you indulge in it so much, you fail to see and recognize that what you're seeing is not true at all. I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about the honest truth. You have never seen anybody healed. You have seen they went out and they prayed and prayed and prayed and nothing changed. Don't say. No, we're talking about Joshua that make the sun stood still. Joshua commanded the sun to stood still. Do you see anyone do that today? No. Right? We're talking about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? That were cast in the fire during the Greek captivity, right? And what happened? They never got burned. We're talking about Daniel. All these things we're talking about, right? We're talking about Samson that came to deliver the Israelites out of their captivity. We're talking about when they marched around Jericho until the wall crumbled down. Now listen, these people have a relationship with their God. And when they call upon their God, he listens to them. And he come, if they're in trouble, and deliver them out of the hands of their enemy. They weren't much in number when they started out. Remember this, right? But he said they will become like the sands on the seashore, right? So now, even the last captivity that they're in, he said he turned his face away from them. But if they love him with all their mind, their heart, and their soul, right, then guess what? He said he's going to stretch his arm a second time and he's going to gather them. No, this is second time. He is going to gather them just like the first time he gathered them out of Egypt. All the other times, he sent someone to get them. He listens to his people. So why Christians that are semi-devoted today cannot call upon him to redeem themselves or to redeem the society that is filled with violence and murder and all sorts of things? Why this cannot happen? Because they are not the children of the Most High. So they cannot do it. Why you haven't seen those miracles, my people, my brothers and sisters? Because the Israelites are disconnected from their heritage. They have lost their identity. They don't know who they are. So they're unable to perform any miracle that you would have read about in this book. The very people that I'm talking about, the Hebrew Israelite, they are scattered among the nation. And the end time prophecy is around them. Everything that you have read in the book is around them. So you won't see that happening in the earth until when these people revive themselves from their wickedness and get back onto the path of the Most High. This is when you'll see these things begin to happen in the earth. Otherwise, you won't see it. There is no denomination, there is no religion, there's none of them that you see who claim, oh, we're this and this one is better than the other. You will not see any miracle performed by any of those organizations, institutions, none of them, my people. So I want you guys to know that. So I want you to take that in. Just take it in for a second. None of them. Christians cannot do it. So which God are they talking about? That's what we want to know. We want to know which God are you talking about? Because it seems your God is not doing anything. And what? You pray every Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, whenever day you go, and there is no changes at all. Not in the society. Not in the world. There is no changes. None of them cannot command anything or ask the Most High to do anything, as you have read about the ancient people that did it. And the question would be, why? And the answer would be that the people that perform and did these great, wondrous things that you've read about are in captivity today, and they're under the government, the rulership of their enemies. They don't even know that they are, in fact, the Hebrew Israelites. They're scattered, right? The four corners of the earth, that's where they are, and they're not the head, they are the tail. So when you read Revelation, I know thy works, I know thy tribulation and poverty, but thou art rich. Blaspheme those who say that they're Jews, but are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. They are suffering. They're not rich. And I'm not saying that, oh, one of them might not have some money or some wealth or what you consider to be earthly riches, but the whole entire group of them, they are not wealthy. You understand where they could, yeah, okay, yeah, we have and we're not going through poverty. You will see it that they will be the lowest of the low wherever they are, wherever they're scattered. They will be treated such way, and they will be called a byword by every other nation. Every other nation would call them a byword. What is that byword, and what is these? Who are these people? They will be called a byword, right? You know the byword, man. Monkey, nigger, coon, whatever. That's what they've been called. Black. Now, black have all kinds of negative connotation to it. Hence the reason why they call them that, right? The whole entire melanated people has been called black. Even we ourselves use the same term. So by the other nations, what do they call you? Black, right? That's a byword. So, there's a question here. And do remember, my people, that the lines are open. Some people ask me, that why the lines are not, why they can't call in. But of course you can. 718-676-0853. That's 718-676-0853. That's the number to call if you want to call and talk to me during the program. So, we here at The Naked Truth have to bring, everything to the light so that our people won't be tricked and be confused about what's happening. Of course, you will defend something because you grew up doing it. You grew up eating a certain thing. You grew up learning certain things. So you're going to use that as the base, right, of your understanding, right? The base of how you interact, communicate with people based on what you have learned and what's been standard, right, in your community, right? You're going to use that and say, well, this is what I know. It's like everyone say, okay, 1 and 1 is 2. Why? This is the standard. Is it truly 1 and 1, 2? But that's what it is, right? And when it becomes standard, of course, it's difficult for you to see any other way. You're going to think, oh, it couldn't be any possible way. But these are ideas of who, right? Why is the Bible text confusing or plain? Why do we all have different understanding when read the same content? That's it. And I believe we this is a good question. Why everybody read the same thing and have a different understanding of it? Because now you have the pastors in the church who are telling you one thing, and because people fail to go out and learn for themselves and to understand reading, and then coming together and trying to bring some light to their understanding, they rather someone tell them or dictate to them what it is, someone who they look up to, or they idolize and say, well, the pastor is good, and not because the pastor could scream and say all kinds of things and put it in such a sweet context mean that it is true. That's the problem with a lot of us. We're looking to find truth based upon how amazing you can put the word in certain contexts. You cannot learn like that, my friend. Right? We're looking for the truth. Not the pretty ways how you put the truth, or the pretty ways that you put words and it seems, oh my God, the way he said it, it has to be true. And this, a lot of people would fall victim to this, but you're far from what the truth is. So of course, most pastors and preachers, whoever they are, would always do this, trying to persuade the congregation to think a certain way, to believe what they're saying, because hey, it's a money making thing, right? This is why they have to pass around the money, the basket, right? I call it a basket, right? For you to put your donation or you give your 10% or whatever it is in it. Okay, here I say a few words, pass the basket around. Right? And they're getting money from you. So it's all about wealth. For them, it's riches. They want to be rich. They're not there to teach you. They have a business. The church is a business, right? And they're working on the minds of the people who, especially those people who trying to free themselves, trying to find salvation, right? They're looking for something, but they go to the wrong place. The church is not the place to go to get redemption. The church cannot redeem you from anything. So you have to understand that. So a lot of people go there thinking, oh, well, I'm going to church now, so I'm going to be saved. Even they have the baptism and all of these other crazy stuff, and you're going to be saved and born again and all kind of nonsense. It doesn't work like that, right? So why is the Bible text is confusing to a lot of people, right? It's going to be confusing because culturally, if you have to go to a country that you didn't know and to learn their way of life, it's not going to be an easy thing for you, right? It wouldn't be an easy thing for you to learn someone else's culture. I mean, details in their culture and how they say things, the terms that they say things in, and you know, it would be difficult for you to grasp it, right? It is confusing because everybody wants to, or everybody feel today, right, that they're inclusive to this, as I said before, when they're not. This information, this history, right, some of this history that is in the book, not the lies, but some of the truth that is here, was written by a certain people, right? A people that lived together. They had nothing to do with the other group. They lived and they document their journey. They documented what they went through. They talk about their struggles. They talk about their captivity. They talk about everything. These people document what happened to them. The fact that this information fall into the hands of other people who are not Israel. So if you're not an Israelite, you're not going to understand what this is saying, or some of these words that are not perverted in this book. It's going to create a confusion when you read it because it's not your culture. You're not used to that. But because Christianity were forced upon you, led you to believe that you're a part of what this is and that you're children of God, and in the end that you're going to be saved, and Jesus, you're going to go through your mediator, right, which is Jesus, and he's going to save you, and you're going to go to this place that called heaven, and you're going to live there forever in eternal bliss, right? So many people already believe, right? They believe because Christianity, right? Christianity is something that they adapted, right? As they are, it was their inherited. I would say the first encounter, adapted. It was forced on them, right? And then the second would inherit this idea, and this idea now become the poison that corrupt nations and nations of people who had their own belief. They had their own belief. They didn't believe anything else. It's just like, use China, for instance. China have their own different belief. Their Buddha, they whatever they have, that's their thing, right? Christianity tried to break in. Not many Chinese people adapted or, believed in Christianity. It's not their culture. This is not something that they're familiar with, right? It wasn't a part of that culture. But if Christianity had their chance, the whole of China now would think, just imagine that for a second. They would think that, oh my God, we're a part of what this is, the whole entire Bible. You understand? We're a part of it now. And I'm a Christian and I'm a son of God. And they will think this because it was forced on them. First generation. Second generation will adapt this. It will become normalized among their people. They would all believe that this is a part of their culture now. Right? Not knowing the origin of this thing, right? They would believe, well, I'm a Christian and I'm a son of God and that Jesus died for them, right? That would be the whole talk in that country. as it is the talk in many countries now, right? That Jesus died for them, and it's them, and they're Christians, and they're devoted, and they're still in their symbolism. And this is where the confusion comes, because when you approach this information, you have to approach this with an open mind, right? When you approach this based on indoctrinating, the indoctrination that you have received, now you're going looking because you already believe what your pastor told you, right? You believed it. So now you're getting into this book. You're telling yourself, okay, what your pastor said sounds very sweet. So sweet, it has to be the truth, right? It is so sweet, can't be nothing else. Has to be the truth. And this is where you go wrong. Because now, not only that you're looking now when you're on your own, doing your own research, you're looking, right? Because the foundation, the seed of deception is already planted. Now, you're looking for proof to support, right, that very deceptive seed that was planted in you. You know, you're looking for proof to support it. Okay, the pastor said this, so I'm looking for things. So they're cherry picking what they think, will align with what the pastor already programmed them with, right? It has to align with your programming. So, okay, I'm looking, and if you're not finding it, you're finding ways how to twist it to your own understanding. Okay, for example, and I want you to pay attention to this very, very carefully. Now, they would go back to, as I said, John 3:16, because they said, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting. Now, they use this whosoever as it without limitations, right? And when I say without limitation, it means this whosoever, right? We're talking about now, it's connected to the whole entire planet. Everybody that lives on the planet, this whosoever pertains to everyone there. But let's go back. Right? Let's go back to the origin. Now, we know that when the Messiah came, he said, I came but, right, for the last sheep of the house of Israel. Right? That's who he came for. So the Messiah was, either he was lying or he was telling the truth. So now that we know that he came for these people, they never socialized with other groups. They weren't friends with other groups. They didn't go out to teach other groups about anything. Do you understand what I'm saying? So Israel stayed to themselves to be righteous, to be a holy people. They had to do holy things. The diet, the food they eat, the laws, the way they conduct themselves, everything has to fall in place in order for them to be pure and righteous. They have to live and do a certain thing. The Most High makes sure that they said, okay, you can eat this, but you can't eat this. This is unclean, but this is good, and this. And all of these things were documented that they should do. They didn't communicate with other groups of people. They weren't friends with other groups of people and been influenced by that, It was never so. So the Most High came for them. Right? So now you have to understand, when these people gathered themselves, there was no stranger there. There wasn't Instagram, Twitter that we know today, TikTok, you understand me, Facebook or YouTube, and they say, okay, we're going to go on Facebook. The Israelites are on Facebook, and they're streaming all around the planet, addressing everyone on the planet. No. Just like when America and the president in America is making a speech and statement, it's to the people here. So if the president say, whosoever believe in me shall not perish but have everlasting, he's not talking about China. He's not talking about Russia. He's not talking to the people in Jamaica, the Caribbean. He's talking to the people in the territory of which he's governing. That's what he's talking about. So the whosoever, very, very partial, right? It's very partial, but they would use this. And if your mind is not strong enough, and if you're not filled with understanding, guess what? You'll believe it. The whosoever, because these people were isolated to themselves. They only communicated with each other. They share information among each other, not other groups outside. You haven't read this book where in any of the passages where you talk about, well, they had the other people that they had to go to and they had to, no. They talk about what they did, what happened to them in their captivity, how they're supposed to live. This has nothing to do with the other group outside. So when the Messiah was saying, whosoever, who was he talking to? The people that was there in the congregation that gathered with him. If you're in your house and you say, whosoever finished wash the dish first, does this term refer to the other people outside? Outside of your house? No, you're not talking to them. You're talking to the immediate family member within your presence. That's who you're talking to. And this book and the information was written based on the people that was in the presence of the person who was speaking, or the person who were writing, or the experience that they were going through at the moment. Whoever was there, this is what they're talking about. Has nothing to do with other groups outside or other people outside. So they would use this though. This is how ignorant a lot of people would think. So you understand? Okay. John 3:16, they will send you to read it. They will send you too if you go to them with anything. And if you don't, you're going to say, oh, well, now I see. But no, my brothers and sisters, they weren't talking about the world. The Most High has never talked about the world. Notice he said, he men of Israel, always addressing Israel. If when he says something about the other people, he said the inhabitants of the earth. He's addressing everyone. If you don't see that, he's not talking to you outside. He said, out of the families, and that's Amos 7:3. Let's just go there to bring some clarity again, right? Because I want you guys to understand what's going on here. We're not making up things, and we don't want to make anything up. We want you guys to understand scriptures. And a lot of people, as I said, you've been to the churches, and the pastor always dictate what and how you should, and what they never gave you the truth. They never tell you what the truth was. They don't intend to teach you what the truth is. And as I said, they themselves cannot cure or heal anyone, right? So let's go to Amos 3 verse 1, right? And this is what the Most High is saying. Amos 3 verse 1. You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities, right? You only have I known out of all the families of the earth. So now we have to understand this, right? See that the Most High himself was lying, or Christians are lying, telling us something different. Who is lying, right? Who is lying? Now we know the statement was made before. So the second statement that men are trying to conform and trying to let us to believe could never be true. The Most High said, of all the families of the earth. Not only that, not only that, you said, that's not the only thing. Let's go to Romans. Because, it becomes a thing. Right? It becomes a thing where everybody, as I said before, they want to be included. And you cannot be a part of something if you were never a part of it before. Right? Now, if we go to Romans 1 through 14, right? Who are Israelite? To whom, and I'm telling you this. This is what the Most High is saying, right? Right? To whom pertaineth the adoption? Pertaineth the adoption. They will be taken back in, right? And the glory, the covenants, which is the promise that they and God had made. He didn't do that with anyone else. You have read another book that came from Europe, came from China, came from any other nation. We said this book is coming from one place. The information is coming from one place, one group of people, not multiple different people who have different experience talk about it. This information is coming from a group of people that had an experience with their God. Right? To whom pertaineth the adoption, right? The glory, and the covenant and the giving of the law. The law was given to who? The Israelites, right? And the service of God, who? The Israelite was given the service. And the promise, whose fathers, who are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came. Right? Who are the father? What was promised to them? The land of Canaan, right? The promise. So the promises, right? And the fathers of whom concerning the flesh Christ came. Just like what Christ said, I came but for the last sheep of the house of Israel, right? Who's concerning the flesh Christ came, who is over all and God bless. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So I gave you evidence again to let you see this. So people outside who believe this, and they will tell you whosoever, as this is a word that, transcend to different groups of people. No, it don't. The law, the giving of the law, the service of God was given to the Israelites, right? They were cast out and they're in captivity because they what? They transgress the law. The other nation was never kicked out. The other nations were never sold and diminished by slavery and murder. No. There is one group of people who will face this because of the prophecy. If the prophecy is true, then you can align the prophecy with reality. You go do it yourself. It's not going to be two nations of people who have the same, who experience the same thing. It's going to be one group of people that you will see and know that these people have gone through this thing. And the world, even though they're living in denial today, would act like they don't know who those people are because those people have been tainted by everyone else. And everyone believes that they're nothing and there will be nothing. But the Bible tells us again, right? The stone that the builder refused, what shall that stone be? The head. The stone that the builder refused shall be the head cornerstone. So remember that. That's not going to go anywhere. So they could do whatever they want. They could try to change history if all they want. There is a prophecy that stands. And the prophecy has to be, if this is the word of the Creator himself who put all things in existence, then guess what's going to happen? The prophecy has to come. It has to be fulfilled. Doesn't matter what they do. Don't matter how many lies they will tell and change the story and try to tell you this. Listen, the truth remains. The truth will remain. So I want you guys to understand that. They will make all efforts to change your mind to believe something else. The Israelites are scattered among the nation, and they're not the head, they are the tail. The Bible even tells you, Deuteronomy 28 through 68. It tells you everything in details, my friend, the blessings and the curse. What will happen to them? And the curse is specific things that are going to happen. It said, you will be sold. You will go into Egypt again for a second time with ship. There you'll be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, right? It tells you everything. You shall not have no might in your hands towards your enemy. You can't deliver yourself from this because the curse is upon your shoulders, and every atrocity, every horror, you're going to go through it. Now, we can talk about history. You heard about the tears, the Trail of Tears, right? You heard about that. You mean, don't let me have to go through. We're talking about the transatlantic slave trade and all these things go right back. The amount of murdering and bloodshed that happened. Man, listen. You shall have no might in your hands towards your enemy. The Israelites don't have an army today. You will not have one. Pay attention. No might shall be in your hands. Because you're not going to overcome your enemy. Your enemy is going to overcome you because that's a part of the curse. That's a part of your demise. Because our ancestors have sinned. That is a part of their destruction. The enemy shall govern you. And say, in wants of all things, your enemies, you shall get it from. Where do black people in America get food? Do they plant their own food? Is there a source that they get it from? Clothes, everything? Do they weave their own cotton? Where do they get it? Through the enemy, just like the prophecy says. In wants and needs of all things, you shall go to your enemy. Did it tell you the prophecy? Gradually fulfilling. You shall plant a vineyard, but you shall not eat of it. Is that true? Again, or is a lie? Did you plant the cottons and plant the strawberries, and can you eat anything from it? No, it's not yours. Did you build houses and cannot live in it? That you shall build house, and you shall not live in it, dwell therein. Did you build houses and cannot live in it? Because the enemy took it. It's not yours. You build it. You build this country, you build everything. Can you live in it? Nope. Was the White House built by slaves? Do black slaves, descendants of slaves, any rights to the White House? No. The prophecy stands and it cannot be changed. And the people who don't want to see this is those who are filled with hatred and are wicked in the hurt today. They don't want to see this, and they can't accept the fact that the people that they look down upon are truly the people of the Most High. The people that they hate and ridicule. The people that they call monkey. The people that they call coon. The people that they call nigger, black. The very people that they enslaved. They murdered. The very people that live within their society that are victims still to this very day. The people working the lowest job. Poor. The people that have to eat sardines for dinner. Rice with gravy. Chicklins. The people who are conditioned to think a certain way. Right? Those people. The ones who hang out on the street corners. Lost. Don't know whether it's night or day. Shall group at midday. Like the blind groped in darkness. You won't know what to do. You've been discontinued from your heritage, my brothers and sisters. You won't know. You won't know who you are until the time that you realize. Said in the city where you have been captive, said there it shall come to your remembrance. There's a time that all these things shall come back to your remembrance, and you realize that wait. You mean this all this time? It's going to come to your remembrance. You will see. The very people, he said, you shall be hated by all nation of people. Any of you, can you think of a nation out there that supports you? And I'm not talking about, oh, well, they gave you $1 and they laugh and smile with you, mean that they're support. One nation that said, no, what is happening to these people should stop. Which nation have you known out there? Anyone? Tell me. Tell me one nation that helped you and said, no, this cannot happen. Speak on your behalf and said, no. Stand up collectively saying, no, this cannot happen. We shouldn't treat these people this way. There is none. Because the prophecies say that this is going to happen. And this is what's happening. You go read Deuteronomy 28 through 68 for yourselves, my brothers and sisters. You will get some clarity on this. The Israelites, they're not rich. They're poor. The most creative people. The most wisest people. Yet they are poor. I know your tribulation. I know your poverty. But thou art rich. Why are you rich? Because in the end, all things belongs to you. So my brothers and sisters, I want you guys, dedicate yourselves, right? Study this Bible And I don't want you to believe everything in it that you have read. Study it. Go through the whole pages of the book and ask the Creator for understanding. And whatever you don't know, share it among your brothers and ask them questions. You have to find what the truth is. We have to find what the truth is. Too long we've been living in lies. Too long. So my people, I want you to take your time. Spend some time learning about your Creator. You've done everything else. You spend time working and earning for yourself. And it seems to be, our people seems to be out of place. Where's our place? Where's our home? Where's our leader that is concerned about our well-being? Where is it? That we don't have to get up and feel stressed out. Working on a plantation that doesn't care about us. Working to fulfill the desire of the enemy or the masters. You're not free. You think you are, but you're not. So I want you, my people, to get, so, basically, I don't want to stray away too much from the question, but that's how it works. It's confusing. Seems that we have read the book and we're coming off with different ideas from it, because this belongs to a culture, not the people that are reading and the people who believe that they're a part of what this is. The book is for certain people. The information is for certain people. It was written for them. Their spirit bear witness to the truth, and their spirit shall bear witness to it. Again, they'll see it. Once they begin to learn it the proper way, they'll understand it. This stigma, and I'm talking about, in our minds, because we've grown up in a place. So we have high expectation of what to happen next. We have to walk on the right side. You have to drive on the right side. And these rules are created by who? Men. These men within their society create laws and rules for themselves to govern their people. The Most High created law to govern his people. He gave them law. Men outside create their laws to conduct, right, in their society. And when you're born within a certain area or a certain country, you begin to adapt to what's happening there. It's difficult. Someone tell you, oh, didn't you know that you shouldn't do this? You didn't know that you shouldn't do this. You'll fight. You'll fight with them. You'll argue with them. No. This is right. How it becomes right? Because you went to school and you learn this recipe. Who put these recipes together? The same person, the same enemy. The same people put the recipe together. You're learning. So you're referencing to the very things that the people expect that you should go to. Okay, I'm going to do some research. Where are you going to? The same information that is provided. By whom again? Same people. Same people who don't have your interests at heart. That's just how the ball bounces, man. So it's difficult when you tell someone about the truth and it seems conflicting to them. Like, what? But the majority believe this. So because the majority believe, you now have to believe that, right? This is how the simple mind work. Well, everybody going left, so I think I should go left. You know what I'm saying? These things become standard. And when they do, you've been programmed by this. You've been programmed to do what? To work and to do everything to satisfy the society. I'm not lying to you. Think about it. You have been programmed. You have been taught. All that you have learned is to function and contribute to the society that you're a part of. That's it. They didn't teach you how to embrace your true creativeness. No, you don't even know what to create because you're thinking, you can't think outside of this program. You're thinking everything that rotates within you in the space. So if you need an idea, you have to think, okay, they have a clock. Maybe I could invent a clock that You're taking ideas from something that exists. You can't come out of your own creative space because you have never been there before. You've been programmed with a program that had you believing this is the way, this is the path that you have to take. There is no other path. This is it. And without this path, there is nothing else outside of it. The reality is, this is the reality. You have to live by this, no matter what. They never teach you that. Did they teach you in school how to love your brother and how to care for your brother and how to honor your mother and your father? You never learn. This society that claims, right, that they are Christians, right, and they have morals and ethics, right? Where are these morals and principles? They never tell you that as a child. Oh, you learn to respect your mother and honor your mother and your father. And these are things that are supposed to be reinforced. They're not being reinforced, right? Because the information here, don't belong to them. It's not their culture. Why teach your people someone else's culture? We're just using this, right? Because our reign in our society, right? And our rulership in the society, right, is prolonging because the people that this information is written about don't even know it. So why should we tell them when they find out or when they read? And we have made so many adjustments to this, right? So when they do figure it out, it's going to take them thousands of years. Our nation will rule over them and rule over them. They'll never find their way. Little do they know that the Most High have a time for everything. And the Most High, He determines when is when. And when time is up, it's up. And there's nothing else you can do about that. So whatever they do, man, Twitter, Instagram, and how they would block your video because you're saying certain truth. They don't want to hear it. We don't need these platforms when the time is closed. We don't need this. We're not going to need this to be talking to our people, to educate our people. And that would be your biggest mistake, is to stop what we're saying and thinking that you're going to make some dent into it. You can't. No matter what you do, ban the video, do whatever you want. We're going to, right? The prophecy is going to be fulfilled, whether you like it or not, whether you care or not. Ban the video, block the video, whatever you want to come with all stipulations, whatever. This truth is going to come out. So my people, I hope I edify you guys enough today. And, as we reach the peak of our time. And I definitely want to thank you all for staying with us, and listening. And I hope you guys become more engaged later on. So we definitely can have a deeper conversation and hear other people input as well. Because it's good when we can share information with each other. And, we're learning. We're in the process of learning, and we never stop learning, man. Never finish. So I want to thank you guys. Everybody. Just thank everybody out there who tuned in. Everybody who, give us, their time. And who listens, I know a lot of people may find, something good. Others might find bad, but hope you do find the truth in everything. And we definitely thank you. We appreciate you. ATO is coming up next. So you guys stay tuned for the entertainment. That's coming up next. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Most definitely. We're gonna be performing for you guys, and yeah, man, blessings, cool kid, and keep the time, going. As I said, my sisters, my brother out there, please love your brother, right? Love the Most High first with all your mind, your heart, and your soul, and love your brother as you love yourself. Treat him the very way that you would treat yourself. Do for him the things that you would want to be done unto you, right? Do those things, your eyes will begin to open. And the Most High will begin to visit you, right? In your oppression, in your troubled times, whatever you're going through, He will be able to visit you and redeem you out of those things. Seek ye the kingdom first. All things shall be added. So don't forget, love the Most High with all your mind, your heart, and your soul. Just like how you love the other things that you do. Just like how you love your wife and other things that you commit and you devote your time to. Please Without him, all the things that you are enjoying in this world here would not be. You wouldn't even exist to have an idea of any of these things. So he must be honored over all things. So please do that. Love your brother just you want, and this will you will abolish all of these negative things, all the crime, the killing. We will learn how to embrace one another because I want for you, you want for me. I wouldn't offend you. I don't want to be offended, so I would not offend you. I don't want to be hurt, so I wouldn't hurt you. You get what I'm saying to you? That is the recipe to this, my brothers and sisters. So we thank you so much. And ATO is coming up, so stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. Remember, have a blessed weekend and stay tuned. The other stream will start. ATO and some artists coming through. And thank you again, everybody. We're looking forward for some phone calls. And do leave your comments and you know, share the stream with your friends, your family, and everybody else. We're definitely going to be on the next stream. So ATO is coming up. You stay tuned for that. And I hope you enjoyed the entertainment. And we love you all here. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Blessings and blessings and blessings. And may the Most High bless you in your going out and your going in. One love. Until next time, we'll see you.